What happens when America's most beloved actress, a woman who built her career on charm, warmth, and grace, walks into a morning talk show and is trapped in a public ambush live on national television? When Julia Roberts, the woman America once called its sweetheart, steps onto The View expecting laughter, conversation, and warmth, but instead finds herself surrounded by hostility disguised as honesty, in less than a minute, the mood shifts. Compliments turn into traps, and questions turn into weapons. This isn't just an interview gone wrong, it's a calculated attack wrapped in charm, a televised betrayal that leaves the audience frozen, and a moment that forces the world to ask, when did cruelty become courage? And why do we cheer for it? The studio of The View feels like a pressure cooker disguised as a morning show. The lights are too bright, the air too cold, and the hum of the crowd too restless. Julia Roberts walks in right on time, hair perfectly set. She's calm, confident, the kind of quiet that comes from decades of knowing how to own a room. She came to The View to promote her new film, smile for the audience, charm the hosts, leave before lunch. When she steps onto the set, Whoopi Goldberg greets her first. Warm, steady, grounding. "You look radiant as ever, Julia." "It's good to see you," Julia smiles. "Always good to see you too, Whoopi." Sarah Haynes practically beams as she hugs her. "I can't believe I'm sitting this close to you." "My mom's obsessed with Pretty Woman." "Tell her I said thank you," Julia says with a laugh. Then she turns and meets Joy Behar. Joy doesn't stand, doesn't smile, just sits there, arms crossed, lips curved into something that technically qualifies as a smile, but doesn't reach her eyes. "Julia Roberts," Joy says flatly. "Well, this should be interesting." Julia nods politely. "Always happy to be here." Joy tilts her head. "We'll see." There's something about the way she says it, soft enough for the mics to miss, but sharp enough for Julia to feel it. It's not a greeting, it's a warning. When the show goes live, everything looks normal. The intro music plays, the crowd cheers, Whoopi opens with her signature warmth. "We have a very special guest this morning, an icon, a legend, and one of the kindest souls in Hollywood. Please welcome Julia Roberts." The applause is thunderous. Julia steps out, waves, flashes that famous smile. Effortless, genuine. She takes her seat, folds her hands neatly, and the conversation starts easy. Whoopi tosses her softballs about her new movie, a drama about forgiveness. Julia talks about redemption, about how she believes in giving people second chances. Sunny Hostin adds, "That message couldn't be more timely." Julia nods. "I think forgiveness is freedom. Holding grudges just makes you tired." The audience claps. Then Sarah jumps in. "You've also done so much for arts education." "That's incredible," Julia smiles. "It's my favorite thing I've ever done." Talent's everywhere. It just needs a chance. The crowd applauds again. Everything feels smooth, perfect. Except Joy hasn't said a word. She's sitting there quiet, eyes locked on Julia like a sniper waiting for a clean shot. Every time Julia glances her way, Joy gives the same smile. Thin, knowing, dangerous. Whoopi tries to loop Joy in. "Joy, you've followed Julia's career from the start." Joy lifts her head slowly, that cold smirk barely moving. "Oh, I've followed it all right," she says. "Very closely." Julia's eyebrows lift, just slightly. "Well, that's flattering." Joy shrugs. "Don't be so sure." The audience laughs uneasily, not because it's funny, but because they don't know what else to do. Whoopi forces a laugh to break the tension, but Julia can already feel it. The tone has shifted. The warmth of the room is gone. She takes a sip of water and glances down at the note card in front of her. Questions about her film, her charity, her message of hope. But she knows they're not the ones Joy plans to ask. Joy leans back, eyes narrowed, voice calm but loaded. "You know, Julia, you've built quite a career on being perfect. Always smiling, always graceful. Doesn't that ever get exhausting?" Julia lets out a small laugh, polite, cautious. "I don't know about perfect, Joy. I just try to do my job well and treat people kindly. Joy smirks. We'll get to that. The energy in the studio shifts now. It's subtle at first, but is gone, replaced by something sharper. Joy leans forward, her tone light, but her words cutting clean through the room. Julia, she begins with a smile that's all teeth. You've played the same woman your whole career. The dream girl. Doesn't it ever bore you pretending to be likable? The audience gasps. A few laugh, unsure if it's a joke or an attack. Julia lets out a small, polite laugh, the kind people use when they're buying time. Well, I don't think I've been pretending, Joy, she says, still smiling. I like to think I've been pretty genuine about who I am, both on and off screen. Joy's grin widens. Oh, I'm sure you do, she says, tilting her head like a teacher indulging a student. But come on, you're America's sweetheart. Built on dimples, not depth. Don't you think that act's getting a little old? The air goes heavy. Every camera swivels toward Julia. She's still smiling, but her hand tightens on the arm of her chair. The only sign she's holding something back. Whoopi tries to step in, voice calm but firm. Joy, let's... Joy cuts her off without looking. What? I'm just asking what everyone's thinking. Julia turns slightly toward her, her voice steady, quieter now. I've never played an act, Joy. I've played people. Real ones, Joy laughs. Not kindly, but like she's caught her opponent in a lie. People? Or just different hairstyles on the same fantasy? The audience lets out a nervous laugh. No one's sure how to react. Julia blinks once, slow, and for the first time her smile fades completely. Whoopi shifts in her seat. Sarah looks down at her cards. Sunny bites her lip. Everyone feels it. This isn't playful banter anymore. Julia leans in, her voice even but colder. You know, Joy, I came here to talk about my film, not my face. Joy smirks. Funny. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. The crowd exhales collectively. A few groans ripple through the seats. Julia sits a little straighter, eyes locked on Joy, no smile left to hide behind. The tension that had been simmering finally cracks open. What started as a sparring match turns into something else, something uglier. Joy's tone changes, her smile tightens, and every word starts landing like a slap. Joy tilts her head, voice dripping with false innocence. You talk a lot about resilience, Julia. But what real pain have you ever faced? You've had the kind of life most women can't even imagine. Julia blinks, confused. Excuse me? Joy's grin widens, sharp and deliberate. Oh, don't play coy. You've been privileged, pampered, and protected your whole life. How would you know struggle? The crowd murmurs, uneasy. Sarah glances off camera. Sunny shifts in her seat, whispering, Joy, come on. But Joy isn't backing down. Julia exhales slowly, keeping her tone level. You don't know me, Joy. You don't know where I come from or what I've been through. Joy's voice rises a notch, pretending it's all just honesty. Oh, I think we all know. The red carpets, the mansions, the magazine covers. Forgive me if I don't picture you crying over an unpaid bill. The audience gasps again, this time louder. Whoopi straightens in her chair. Joy, enough, she warns, trying to signal for a commercial, but Joy keeps going. Let's be real for once, Joy says, leaning forward. If you weren't beautiful, would anyone care what you had to say? The sound in the studio shifts, a mix of shock and anger. Even the camera operators freeze. Julia's face hardens, the disbelief giving way to something else, hurt laced with dignity. She stares at Joy like she's trying to decide whether to respond or walk off. Whoopi tries again. We're going to take a quick... Joy cuts her off. Oh, don't bail her out now, Whoopi. She's fine. She's used to being adored. Julia leans forward, her voice low, cold and sharp enough to slice through the tension. Joy, I came here to talk about art, not to audition for cruelty. Joy gives a mocking laugh. Maybe that's the first real line you've delivered in years. That lands like a punch. The audience lets out a collective groan, and Julia goes still. Every trace of her smile is gone. Her eyes lock on Joy's, and for a long second, no one moves. Whoopi's voice breaks the silence, firm but tense. We're cutting to break. But Julia doesn't look away. She doesn't blink. For a few long seconds, the studio is silent. Not TV silent, but the kind of silence that buzzes in your ears. The lights hum, the cameras roll, and no one knows what to say. Sunny stares down at her notes like she's trying to find somewhere to hide. Sarah doesn't even pretend to look up. Even Joy, for a flicker of a moment, seems to realize the air in the room has turned against her. Julia sits perfectly still, hands clasped in her lap. Then slowly she exhales and gives a small, practiced smile, the kind every celebrity learns for moments exactly like this. "You're entitled to your opinion, Joy," she says, her tone even but brittle. Joy crosses her arms, her voice smug. "I'm entitled to honesty." "That's what the show's about." Julia doesn't blink. "No," she says softly, her voice carrying more weight than volume. "That's what bullies say when they need an excuse." The crowd stirs, a low, nervous wave of murmurs and gasps. Then a few claps, then more. It's scattered, hesitant, but it's enough. You can see it on Joy's face. That flash of irritation when she realizes the room isn't on her side anymore. Whoopi finally steps in, her voice cutting through the tension. All right, let's all take a breath." The audience quiets, but the damage is done. Joy leans back in her chair, smirking like she's still in control. "Oh, I'm breathing just fine," she says, adjusting her mic. "Some people just don't like uncomfortable truths." Julia turns her head, slowly, deliberately. "Some people confuse cruelty with truth," she replies. "That's the uncomfortable part." The audience reacts again, louder this time. Whoopi gives a warning glance toward Joy, but Joy just waves it off with a flick of her hand, as if none of it matters. The segment moves on, at least on paper. Whoopi asks a filler question about the film's release date, but no one's listening. Joy leans back in her chair, wearing the grin of someone who thinks she's won the first round. Julia smiles politely, answers the question with precision, but her eyes tell a different story. They're not soft anymore. They're sharp, calculating. The warmth that carried her through the first half of the show is gone. The show limps forward, but the warmth is gone. The crew's smiles are tighter now, and even the audience seems to sit a little straighter, waiting to see what happens next. Sarah clears her throat, trying to pull things back to normal. "Julia," she says carefully, "your new film is about forgiveness and grace. How do you stay grounded when things get tough?" Julia takes a breath, nodding slowly. She could play it safe, give a clean, diplomatic answer. But something in her shifts. She's done pretending. Her voice is calm, almost soothing, but every word hits like a quiet punch. "I believe kindness is strength," she says, "especially when people confuse cruelty with courage." The line hangs in the air. The audience reacts instantly. Low whispers, scattered applause, nods of agreement. It's elegant, subtle, but the jab lands exactly where she meant it to. Joy's posture stiffens, the smile on her face faltering for the first time. "So now you're a philosopher?" she fires back, trying to regain control. Julia doesn't flinch. "No," she says, meeting Joy's eyes. "Just someone who's tired of mistaking hostility for honesty." The audience claps again, louder this time. It's not polite applause anymore. It's defiance. Whoopi's eyes dart between them. All right, let's..." But Julia isn't done. "You know," she continues, still in that calm, deliberate tone, "I think we've forgotten how to talk to each other with respect. Somewhere along the way, we started confusing being mean with being real." That earns her a full round of applause. Even some of the crew can't help but nod. Joy laughs. That sharp, brittle laugh she uses when she's losing ground. "Oh, please," she says, waving a hand. "Don't preach, Julia. You're not the victim here." Julia tilts her head slightly, her tone unwavering. "I'm not, but I know what one looks like." The audience gasps again, a mix of shock and admiration. Whoopi tries to interject, but Joy raises a hand toward the producers offstage. "Don't cut. I want to finish this." The stage manager hesitates, torn between orders and instinct. The red light above the main camera stays on. Julia leans back, eyes fixed on Joy, her voice soft but laced with iron. "You really think this is what honesty looks like, Joy? Humiliating someone to prove a point? Joy smirks, but her voice shakes just slightly. I think the truth makes people uncomfortable. Julia doesn't break eye contact. No, she says quietly. Cruelty does. The room goes silent again. Even Whoopi doesn't move. The tension doesn't fade. It grows. Because everyone knows what's coming next. The tension finally snaps. The air inside the studio feels heavy, like everyone's holding the same breath. Julia's calm, quiet defiance has turned the crowd to her side, and Joy knows it. Everyone can see it in her posture. Shoulders tight, jaw clenched, voice trembling with something halfway between anger and fear. But instead of backing down, she doubles down. Joy leans forward, her voice low but sharp enough to cut through the silence. Julia, let's get real. Maybe your biggest performance has been pretending you're still relevant. The words hit like a gunshot. The audience gasps. Julia's smile disappears. Completely, instantly. It's not shock anymore. It's cold clarity. The kind that freezes the whole room. Even Whoopi reacts this time. Joy, she says, her voice dropping to a warning. That's not okay. Joy waves her off. What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. Julia doesn't move at first. She just looks at Joy. Really looks at her. The seconds stretch. Then slowly, she rises from her chair. The movement is deliberate, measured, the kind that commands attention without asking for it. The audience goes silent. Every camera turns. Every eye follows her. Julia's voice is steady when she speaks, but there's an edge in it now. Something raw, unfiltered, alive. You know what's irrelevant, Joy, she says, mistaking bitterness for bravery. The audience reacts, a low hum that grows louder, building into something electric. Joy forces a laugh. Oh, here we go. You're walking away because you can't take truth. Julia shakes her head, calm but cutting. No, Joy. I'm walking away because I don't mistake cruelty for truth. And then she does something no one expects. She removes her mic. The gesture alone sends a shockwave through the room. You can hear the Velcro rip as she peels it off her dress, slow and deliberate. She looks Joy dead in the eye. You asked about struggle, so here it is. I buried my mother while smiling for the cameras. I rebuilt myself after addiction, rejection, heartbreak. I've been humiliated, lied about, and told I was finished more times than I can count. And you know what I did every time? I showed up. With grace. Her voice doesn't rise, but the power in it fills every inch of the room. That's strength, she continues, not tearing someone down on national television just to feel powerful for 5 minutes. There's no sound for a heartbeat. Then suddenly, applause. It starts small, a few claps from the back rows, then spreads fast. Within seconds, the entire audience is on their feet, the noise deafening. Joy tries to say something, anything, but her mic is drowned out by the roar. The applause isn't polite. It's explosive, emotional, righteous. Julia stands there for a second longer, head high, eyes calm, then sets the mic gently on the table. She gives one last look at Joy, not angry, not triumphant, just done. And then she turns and walks off. The cameras follow her until she disappears backstage. The red on-air light flickers above them, still burning bright, a silent witness to the moment. The View stopped being a talk show and became something else entirely. The studio feels like it's holding its breath. Julia's mic still sits on the table where she left it, and the only sound is the soft hum of the lights overhead. Joy, still seated, stares after her, red-faced and trembling. As Julia reaches the edge of the set, Joy's voice cracks the silence. You can't just walk away, she yells, the words sharp, almost desperate. Julia stops. She doesn't turn right away. She just stands there, one hand on the curtain, the other at her side. Then she looks back over her shoulder, her expression calm but final. No, Joy, she says quietly. I'm walking through the door you built out of hate. It lands like a hammer. The crowd murmurs, then goes completely still again. The cameras keep rolling. No one calls cut. Whoopi leans toward the producer, her voice barely above a whisper. Cut to break. Now the red light flickers off, but the damage is done. Joy sits frozen at the table, staring into the empty chair across from her. The smirk that had carried her through the entire interview is gone, replaced by something hollow. Julia disappears behind the curtain, head high, not rushing, not hiding, just leaving. What she leaves behind is worse than noise. It's silence, the kind that echoes, the kind that sticks to a person. For the first time in the show's long history, no one speaks, no one jokes, no one even breathes. It's as if the entire studio finally understands what just happened. They didn't watch an interview fall apart. They watched someone reclaim their dignity on live television. If you believe respect still matters, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this story. More powerful confrontations and moments of truth are coming next. Only on Last Night's Show Fame.